a little bit about MindStudio. We are a platform that lets you build all kinds of sophisticated AI agents, AI tooling, you know, uh, and if it has to do with AI, like we're right in the middle of it. Um, and we have a couple of different products. We're actually going to be updating our homepage soon to reflect this, but we have an AI agent builder, which is this node-based builder, no code, low code builder. We have this AI video workbench, which I'm going to, demo for you guys today and show you how easy it is to build, different image and video pipelines. And then we also have a new agent skills plugin, which can plug in directly to Claude Code, to OpenClaw, and basically give your AI harnesses incredible capabilities and standardization to allow them to rapidly build and access a ton of different tools. We'll have other workshops covering that. So far, there are over 400,000 AI agents deployed on MindStudio, a bunch of pre-built integrations. We've got folks at, small businesses, enterprise, and government entities creating all kinds of things using MindStudio. Let me just quickly clear this drawing here. And what we're going to be doing is creating a very simple image and video pipeline. So to kick us off, you can get started for free on MindStudio. We do have a very generous free account where you get access to all of the features on MindStudio. MindStudio has connections to over 200 different AI models, meaning you don't need to be subscribed to those platforms. We facilitate the API connections, and on the free tier, it's just pay as you go. So you get to choose the model, you pay for whatever that model costs. We don't charge any markup, it's just pass through. So whatever it would cost directly subscribing to that service is exactly what it would cost using MindStudio. So once you create an account, you're going to be taken to your workspace here. And your workspace has a bunch of different resources. You can learn about, different image and video agents. You can watch some of our tutorials. But there's kind of two places that I want to show you. One is your workspace, which will show all of the different agents. And actually, you can, have multiple workspaces. So I'm going to switch into my, my demo workspace here. And this is going to show all the different agents and all the workbenches that you've built. And you can create a new agent by clicking on that new agent button, which we'll do in just a second. Um, and for those that, really quick, Sam, I see the agent skills, you're asking about the agent skills plugin. You can actually go check out our product page, which I'll post in the chat here. And that has basically a prompt that you can include just in OpenClaw or your Claude Code instance, and it will go ahead and install everything. It'll ask you to sign into MindStudio. Okay, so the other place that you should be aware of as you're building your image and video pipelines is this spot here. It's called Images and Videos, and it has a bunch of templates for different types of image and video builds. And the nice part about MindStudio is that you can actually take any of these builds and make a copy of them in your workspace so that you can see how it works behind the scenes. So just to quickly, I'm going to kick off a run for something, and we're going to use this composer image. And you can see this takes an original photo, a real photo, and basically creates a photo shoot with that photo. So you can see here when we open up the composer, there's all of this was based off of one original image, but all of these images were actually AI generated. And there are a couple of different tells, right? Like most of the time they look pretty real, but there might be one that looks, less real, I guess. This one has two skateboards, right? When the original only had one. And the way that this agent works, we can actually check out by making a copy. You'll see a button typically on here that says make a copy. Because I'm an admin, I have a little different control, but when you make a copy, you can open up and see MindStudio and see how it was built under the hood, right? And so you can check out all of the different nodes that are available. I'll be talking through this. You don't have to know any of this, I'm going to come back to this at the very end after we build a couple of things here. So let's go back and kick off this run inside of that composer. I'm gonna just run it. And when you run agents, you can have all sorts of different custom front ends to your agents. I'll show you. All of this is basically vibe coded, which is really cool. And so this basically asks you to upload one photo. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload maybe this photo of, Brad Pitt here. And this, you can also charge for your agents, meaning like you can have these screens that will collect payment information, and you can essentially make these like little mini SaaS products um, where people can pay per use of the agent itself. And for $3, you basically get like the best photo shoot you've ever had, right? Which is awesome. So it's going to analyze these images and do a bunch of work. While this is running, because image generation does take a little bit of time to run, I'm going to actually just build some very simple workflows and show you how all of this works piece by piece. So in my workspace, I'm going to go to my workspace page, and here I have my new agent button. And this opens up a new project inside of the MindStudio IDE. And you'll get access to a bunch of different resources like our documentation and MindStudio University, which has a bunch of free video courses. We also offer a bunch of live trainings and boot camps on all of this stuff, which you can check out. But we're going to close out of this tab. And this is really what what's important here. One is all agents that you create, all, workbenches, all these different pipelines essentially are workflows, right? They're kind of these node-based workflows, or if you're using the agent skills plugin, all of the functionality from these workflows can be distilled into code so that, Claude Code can use this stuff too. Um, the all workflows essentially start in the same way. They have this start block which kicks off the run. They have an end block which ends the run, and then they have everything in between. And there's a bunch of different blocks. Some of the most commonly used blocks are right up front, but if we click on View All Blocks, you can actually see that there are over 180 different blocks, and each block does a very specific thing. That could be, they're not all, using AI to complete these things. Many of them do, like generate text and generate image, but you can also get data from a bunch of places and route the workflow in different ways, or pull from your own databases or data sources, scrape Google, and connect to your Google Drive and things like that, and transform text and media and video and all these sorts of things. So we're gonna start by simply adding this generate image block. And this generate image block will feel very similar to other image, very simple image workflows that you've used in the past. Like give it a prompt and it will generate something for you. Now, on the right-hand side, all blocks have what's called a configuration panel. And this configuration panel on the right will change depending on what you click on. So if I'm clicked in the end block, this has some configurations. The generate image has a space for a prompt. It has a space for what we want the output to do, because we can display that output back to us, or we can save it to this thing called a variable, and then we can then use it later on in our image generation pipeline. And then you can choose the actual AI image model that you'd like to use. So we have a bunch of different AI image models. You can simply look down the list, find what you want. If you're just starting to generate images for the first time, I would recommend, going with one of these Gemini image models. These are like, the Nano Banana lineup. Some other, new hotness models, I would call them, are these Kling image models. They're getting a lot of hype online, as well as Grok Imagine. But you're going to be happy with any of these image models when you first start out. And as you start diving deeper, there are some additional considerations which we'll talk through in a second. But I'm just going to go with this Gemini 3.1 Flash. It's relatively inexpensive to use, meaning it costs about 6 cents an image, and it's relatively fast when we generate something. You'll notice also underneath that our settings underneath the model have changed. So models all have their own specific settings that you'll need to configure. But for now, let's just quickly just type something in, right? We can say, you know, make a cartoon cat riding a motorcycle. Right? Something very simple can be very general. And then secondly, our start block will determine the type of agent that you're building. And so if we leave this in the on-demand run mode, we basically get a unique link where when we open the link up, we actually start running the agent. Um, for now, you also have the ability to use this thing called the workbench run mode, which essentially allows you to run it directly within this interface here, meaning there's no front end like we saw in the composer for a user to interact with. So if you're just doing personal image generation, we recommend using this workbench run mode. And that gives us this run button here at the top. And when we click on it, we get this thing called the debugger. And the debugger will basically show you exactly what's happening in each step of the workflow. So we see the run started, it's currently generating the image here, and then we will see a display image once it finishes generating our image. And you can see the prompt here, make a cartoon cat riding a motorcycle. And when it's done, we get this image here, which we can take a look at. So awesome, looks great, did a really great job. This is the most basic way in which you can generate images. And we have a nice download button so you can download that image. There's a watermark here, which you can remove just by going down to the bottom of the settings. And just really quick, folks, be careful when you are clicking on things inside of the video display because it will draw on the screen. But you can remove the branding here just by clicking on none. I'm going to leave that watermark on for now. Um, so let's go ahead, now that we know how to generate a basic image by giving it a prompt, let's take this a step further and let's create an image generator with a kind of a front end interface so that our users can actually type their own prompts in. So I am going to use this thing called a user input block. And this user input block allows you to create these Google Forms style form fields, right? And we can create new inputs by clicking on this plus button in the configuration. It's going to ask us to add an input, but we don't have any yet. And then we click on this create new button. And you'll notice that we get pulled into a new tab. We now have on this left-hand panel where all of our folders are, this new input. And the input, basically what gets typed into the form field gets saved to a variable. Now, variables are super easy to understand. We learned in grade school algebra that, x, when we learned about variables, x equals something and y equals something else. Variables in MindStudio work in the exact same way. And we can actually apply our own names. And so I'm going to use, the only real rule is that it has to be all one continuous word. So I'm going to use image underscore prompt. And this is now going to be the variable that we call on. And I can say in the label, this impacts kind of the label text here at the top. I can say, what do you want to generate? And so now we have this front end interface, right? We click across these tabs and go back to our main workflow here. We have this front end interface, and since we have a front end interface, I'm going to change this back from workbench to on demand. And then we can actually publish it and run it. Or we can also use this preview button to simply open up a draft version of this agent. But since I published it, I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. And it's going to say, what do you want to generate? And I'm going to say a spaceman um, on a rocket. And I can say, photo real. And so now we have this interface that where we can type in a new prompt every single time that we want to generate a new image, right? So again, this takes just a second to generate. This image is going to be displayed back to us once it finishes generating. And we can also check in that same debugger, which is this tab here, to see what is happening in the background. We saw it finished, and so we can check on our application, and we got a cat riding a motorcycle. Now, why did that happen? Right? We have our input, and we save that input to a variable, but remember, what we actually type in this step of the workflow was give me a cartoon cat riding a motorcycle. So what we need to do is make sure that the input from this user input is actually used inside of the prompt here. Now, the way that we call variables in MindStudio is by using these double curly braces. So this is the key above the enter key on your keyboard where those square brackets are. You'd hold shift and then use these double curly braces. And then you get a list of all of the variables that you have access to. So you can see we have our image prompt variable here. So now we're feeding this in properly. And when we preview this again, we should be able to see what we typed in. A, a spaceman on the moon photo reel. And this is going to, again, just go through, generate the image. There's nothing crazy about this yet, right? What we can actually do in addition to this is one, I'm going to wait for this to finish generating. But I'm going to just keep building upon these concepts, right? We're going to keep taking it one step further and one step further and one step further, but we're starting with just these basic building blocks. And so this image, if it works correctly, will give us this spaceman on the moon photo reel. Awesome. Looks great, right? So let's say we were building a something that, let's say we had, sorry, let me back up. Humans are like notoriously vague, right? In what we tell an AI to do. We're like, do this, and then it has to like do a bunch of interpretation. And so what we want to do is provide as clear a description of this this final image as we'd like in order to get the best results. Now, if we look up image prompting guide, there's a bunch of them online, right? But they all typically revolve around the same key parameters here, right? If you look here, and I'll go ahead and copy this and paste this into the chat. These are all of the different parameters that many of these AI image models actually need in order to get the exact image. So there's a difference between just simply prompting it and seeing what happens and being able to control and fine tune the output of that image. Now, luckily, when we prompt it, we don't have to actually write all this stuff out. We actually have a block inside of MindStudio, and it's called, if I type in image and search, it's called the enhance image prompt block. And this block is going to basically give you all of the, parameters, the subject, scene, composition, lighting, and it's going to turn that all into one paragraph that we can use, right? So I'm going to have this enhance image prompt here, and I am going to use our image prompt variable, and then it's going to process that initial prompt that the human gives and make it better so that it can actually be more useful for the AI image model. So I'm going to call this enhanced prompt. And then inside of the generate image block, we're going to use the enhance prompt instead, right? Now let's also have let's take this one step further, and I'm going to add another functionality to this. I'm going to say, okay, in addition to the image prompt, I want to upload my own image and I want to remix it. Well, we're going to add another input where we're going to create new, and we're going to call this um, ref image. And this image, there's a bunch of different input types, right? There's this long text, there's short text, there's multiple choice. I'm going to use this upload image input. And that's going to allow me to basically drag and drop any image here. And I'll say upload a reference image. And then inside of our workflow here, we now have the image prompt and the reference image. And now we want to make sure that we include the reference image as part of our image generation step. So we click on the block, and a lot of people will make this mistake. Do not make this mistake. They'll say use this reference image, and they'll include the ref image, whatever variable they used for the reference image. This is incorrect in MindStudio because what's happening is we save that image to a URL, and we actually have to feed it into the model in a different way. Now, a lot of times in the model settings, you'll see this thing called source image, and that actually allows you to add your reference image in and have the AI model, use that image as part of your generation. So we can simply click on add image. And you can see here, if you have the image and you want that image to be consistent every time, you can actually just click and upload the image here. But if that value is going to be dynamic, you can just use that the variable that you created earlier in the workflow when people upload the image, right? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to, put my own profile pic and we're going to put me inside of some scene, right? So let's go ahead and preview this. We'll open the draft agent. We'll say, what do we want to generate? And I'm going to say, make it look like I'm fighting a dragon. And then I can upload my own profile picture. It's right here. There we go. Oh, it might just be easier to click on it. Hold on one second. Maybe I'll just upload it directly. Yeah, let me close out of this and I'll just upload it directly here. Let's try this one more time. There we go. Oh, it looked like it was taking a second because our composer finished generating the images. So I'm going to bounce really quick back and forth and we'll come back. But look at this was the photo shoot with Brad Pitt, right? It was like an awesome looking photo shoot, right? And it picks all of these different angles and lighting styles, and it's able to do this. And we'll look at how this is built in just a second. And obviously, it takes a little bit of time to build, but it all looks very photoreal. It looks like it was shot on a stage. It has different, angles, and it's very creative. Okay, let's try our own image generator here. We're going to say, make it look like I'm fighting a dragon. We uploaded a reference image. Now what's happening is it's taking that initial prompt here and it enhanced it. And we can take a look in our debugger and see what it enhanced it to become. So while this is generating, we're going to open up our debugger. And you can see it goes from make it look like I'm fighting a dragon to epic fantasy digital art, dramatic low angle perspective, a heroic warrior in battle worn armor, wielding a gleaming sword, etc., etc., right? Makes this big paragraph prompt that's much more detailed, right? And what we get at the end is now this final image of, profile picture of me fighting a dragon, right? And what we can do here is let's continue taking it one step further and one step further as we continue building out our pipeline, right? I'm going to add a couple of other things. So one is let's say I want to be able to select from more than one image, and then I want to use that image and generate a video from that image. The way that we do that, first we know we're going to add a video, so we can check our blocks, and we have this, very conveniently placed generate video block. And then we can say, we can give it, a very basic prompt like add, uh, make this, uh, we can say animate the image. We'll just keep it super simple like that. But we also want to create these variants here. And in order to use variants, especially as you're creating these like final image video generation pipelines, we'll need to go back to I'm kind of teaching two concepts at the same time. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth between this start on demand mode and this workbench mode, which I introduced you to. But we can use this workbench mode to generate different variations. Now, again, when we use the workbench mode, this user input block will not work for us. And so what we need to do is set these images up using a different variable, or excuse me, a different block. And it's called a set variable block. And it basically allows us to take these same user inputs, but just use them directly in our workflow. So we're going to need one input for image prompt. So we'll use image prompt, which is our text variable. And we'll have another block that we're going to call the ref image, right? These are the same variables. It's basically, these are basically doing the same thing, only in one case it's asking the user to provide it, and in one case we are providing our own. And so we can also drag and drop. We can drag these different routes to different places. We can also use the Alt click button to disconnect. And then we can include our image prompt. Make it look like I'm fighting a dragon, right? And we can have our ref image, and our ref image is going to be, there's a bunch of types here. It works the same way as the user inputs. Basically type image, where we can choose to upload our image here. I'll click on the import button. Maybe it will allow us to import this image. Do, 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 do. Again, it might take a second. I think I'm a rare case for this feature here. I might need to report this. But I have, 50,000 different images as part of my workspace because I've just been going crazy with all this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just upload my profile picture one more time. Okay. So now we're generating the image. We want to also pass in that image via the into this video block. So currently we were in our generate image block. We had this behavior called display to user. But what we can do for a lot of these blocks is also save the output to a variable to use later on in our workflow. So I can change this to save to variable, and I'll call this my gen image. and then I can then feed it into the next block here. So that's a lot of this is just chaining different steps together and feeding the output of one block into the next block down in our pipeline. So I'm going to include the as our source image. You can see there's a setting here, source image, where I'm going to just include that gen image block or variable. We can choose the aspect ratio. We can even include a source video if we want to, and we can choose the duration here. And so now we can go through, and the other thing I said is we want to generate 4 variants. This generate image block actually has a setting underneath where we can generate multiple variants. And if we enable this, you'll see we can have it generate 4 variants here, and then we choose which variant is selected and passed on to the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and now run this rather than opening up a link. We can click on the run button. It will then kick off a new run where we can see exactly what step we're in. So now we're in the generate image step. It enhanced the prompt. It generated the image. We're going to then need to pick from one of the 4 variants. And when we pick from one of those 4 variants, we can then begin generating our video. So we're just waiting a couple seconds for this to finish generating the images. And so now you can see we have all 4 variants here. It's going to then, we can click on it and we can use the arrow keys to determine which one looks the best, right? This one actually I think looks the best out of all of them. It's got like flames across. Then we can click on select variant. And then it's going to start generating the video using that selected variant. So it's pretty cool. It gives you a bunch of different options. Um, and while this is generating the video, this again might take a couple of minutes. I want to show you, because remember this composer, and we made a copy of this at the very beginning of the workshop, right? This composer is built in essentially the same way, right? It has a couple of extra blocks, and I'll explain what those blocks are. But we start with this user input block where we upload a reference image. And you'll notice that this doesn't use our default interface. It has this thing called a custom interface. So if we switched it from native to custom, and we can then design a custom interface using a vibe coding a vibe coding interface here. So we can actually chat with this. It'll show us what that interface looks like, and we can say make it look like, whatever, right? Make it look like Y2K style, like the Matrix, but cooler. And we can give it these very like general prompts, and it's going to generally figure out what we're looking for and redesign that initial user input, right? And you can see it's writing all the code for us. Like we don't have to know how to code, and we can just use our imagination. And it's more an exercise in communicating exactly what you want, typing it in, hitting the enter key, and then seeing what happens here. And so now, instead of, I'm going to just close these side panels so we could see a little better. It's gonna style everything for us. And when it finishes, we can check out what that image upload screen looks like, right? Let's see if this, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, but let's see what this final video ended up looking like. I mean, not bad. I I was at messed up because it looks like I generated a square image and it stretched it out a little bit. But the fact that it was able to take this and create a whole animated sequence is pretty cool. So here we go. Here's our Y2K composer. This is our new custom interface that we vibe coded in like 2 minutes. It looks incredible. Looks very Y2K. And it's going to ask us to, upload a photo. Obviously, we're just testing this out, but it's super cool, right? And so you can, whatever you can imagine, you can essentially create on this, as part of your pipeline. Now, this composer agent also has a couple of extra blocks. It has this authorized payment block where you essentially get to charge however much you want for the generation. It will collect all of these, payment information from your customers, and then it goes and analyzes the reference image. So this is a step that we didn't talk about, but you can basically use this analyze image block to get a description about the original image. And that's going to include, subject, composition, lighting, shot style. And then after that, there's this block that is a generate text block, which essentially will is like sending a message to an AI model and it's saying, "Hey, take this description and generate many more shots for me that we can then generate." And then it uses this block and goes through that list and generates a different image for each item on that list. Once it's all generated and it all works, it's then going to process the payment. And then again, we have um, this gallery, which is that final gallery that you see. And this is also just a vibe coded thing. Like this isn't a default thing here. It's all vibe coded from this custom interface here, right? So I can, maybe I can do the same here. I can say, make it look like Y2K style, like Matrix, but cooler. And then we can also, if we wanted to change this and make our own little product, we could also go through and modify the shot list or, change it to be whatever we want it to be, right? Right now it's generating 21 unique shots, but you can go through and modify the prompt for it to generate image prompts for something else, right? And you can actually go through all of these things in MindStudio. And this is, in my opinion, the best way to learn about image generation is actually just look at um, some of these builds, right? There's a bunch of cool stuff in here, like our colleague Josh actually built who is here on the call. He built this mini block figure generator, right? And it basically takes your picture and turns it into this was me and the dragon again, right? This is the exact same uh, image, but I said make it look like I'm riding a dragon, but in mini block figure. So Josh built this in like 30 minutes, just using, an existing build and modifying it just slightly. And you can make copies of all of these things here. You'll see a button here again that says make a copy. Um, it depends on the account that you're in, but you'll see typically a button that says make a copy, and then it will create just a cloned version of this thing. You can test things out. If you mess up, don't worry. You can make unlimited amounts of copies. And this is the best way to learn, in my opinion, how these image generators work. And so you can create all sorts of very powerful pipelines um, for, whatever it is you're looking to build. Now, this session was only an hour, and I showed you a lot. Keep in mind, all of this is going to be recorded. You can look back on it so you can start to build your own pipelines. But I do want to open up the floor for questions. Really quick, just gauging, did this make sense? Did this not make sense? Okay. Sort of. Okay. I get some yeses, some sort ofs. That's generally pretty good. That's where you want to be. You're at least curious, which is where we want you to be at the end of these 1 hour workshops. Okay, if you have a question, feel free to use the React button and raise your hand. There's a feature on Zoom called Raise Hand. Go ahead and click on that if you have questions. Sam,
Hey Luis, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can, although it's coming in a little pixelated, but that's okay.
Okay, quick question. Regarding the payment blocks. If I remove the payment blocks from the workflow, is the agent still gonna work?
Yes, absolutely. The only difference is that there's kind of two payments that you should be concerned about. One is like you are paying for the cost of running the agent, right? What these payment blocks are actually for is for customers, the non-owner, anybody who's not the creator of the agent, and that will charge that individual, and that money gets, say, stored into your account. And there's, we use Stripe to process all this stuff, so there's a process for like withdrawing any earned income from agents to your bank account. But if you just remove these and said, "Oh, I just want, I want to make the composer without these blocks," totally cool to do that.
Okay. Um, I sent Jerry a number of questions regarding the behavior of the block itself um, when the agent is embedded into a website.
Uh-huh.
So specifically, if I'm a user on this website that with the agents embedded, am I still going to get that pop-up triggered asking if I'm going to pay the fee or what?
I believe so, unless there's like a bug with that, the way that that's working currently. Um, you should a customer, like, let's say you have this embedded on your website, a customer should see that. The only difference is because it's an iframe, it might redirect, um, like that iframe might try and redirect and it might get blocked via because that's just how, internet security standards work. Um,
If you're using iframe embedding though, but what if you're using signed URL?
the same process applies because I believe it still is an iframe. The only difference is that the user, like let's say the user is signed in. Well, it's a little different if you're using signed URLs because in that case you are charging for access to things on your site, in which case that payment portal and that account is not tied to MindStudio, it's tied to your own website. And so you'll it won't be able to process payments unless that person has a MindStudio account.
Okay,
Um,
so right now the blocks would only work for someone with with a MindStudio account.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll need to
That's why I'm
figure out your.
asking if I can remove them, because if I can, then, I can still take the cost, but I have another, I can, recoup
Yeah,
the cost some other way. Okay.
exactly. Charge
All
for
right.
the membership or whatever it might be
Yep.
on your own
Yep.
site. Yeah, you can
Yep.
totally do that.
Okay. Thank you.
hmm Um, is it EWW Architect Studios or is it you?
Yeah, yeah. So dang man, I got too many questions for real.
I'm ready. I'm ready for
Uh,
them.
so is there a way to copy, like you know how you showed us in the beginning that you could like copy an actual agent? Can you
Yes.
put that into a already pre-built um thing that you already created, or AI
Um,
bot that you
y-
already created, or AI robot?
yeah, totally. So all of these, yeah, so you're gonna want a couple of things. One is if you're using, you know, OpenClaw or Claude Code, like a better way to architect this might be to just use like tell Claude to build this exact workflow for you, where you just kind of describe the steps of the workflow. Um,
Mhm.
it Claude Code will have access, or whatever agent you're using will have access to all of these tools via the this this plugin, skills plugin package. And so you could do it that way. The other way that you could do it is all of these agents can be run via API. So you'll see if you go in this start block and
Mhm.
you scroll down, you'll see this thing called API,
Yep.
and it you can actually just use the MindStudio npm package. Um, there's you'll basically, if you're using Claude Code or an agent, you can just say, "Hey, help me install this, and I want to run, you know, this specific agent." It'll like walk you through the, there's a whole other thing called the MindStudio tunnel, which basically allows you to kind of run these agents whenever you want, like via your terminal and things like that. But you can also just call them directly just via an API call. There's this thing
Mhm.
called the API request builder. So there's a lot of options for you. You just need to kind of explore and click around. I'm just kind of showing you the door at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll figure out the rest. That's good, man.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
for sure. Um, did you have another question, or are we okay to move on to Daniel?
Hi, Luis.
But
Thank you very much. Very useful learning to use the tool. I have a question. I see that these workflows work best when you provide an image reference. But what happens if you don't have one? I only have let's say, a written description of the image.
yeah,
So I was wondering if I should try to generate the image just at once or generate a kind of mock-up first and then feed the model with the mock-up or.
Yeah, that's a really good question. The short answer is it really depends on your preference and level of detail and consistency. I'll show you a different agent that is similar to what you're describing. Um, and basically, to kind of recap what this agent does, I on MindStudio we have a blog here, and all of these images are AI generated, right, for the blog, right? And so we don't have an original image reference image in order to create the images that appear here, right? So what happens is what we use a combination of two things. One is I worked with here, sorry, there's a bunch of tabs here. I'm just going to clean some of this up to make it a little easier to read here. Okay, so there's this thing called a, one second. I'm trying to figure out the right way to describe it, but basically I have two parts. One part is I have a bunch of preset styles, and I randomly select from one of those preset styles. Then I use that preset style filter and also use the content from the blog post or the description of the blog post. And then based off of those things, I generate an image prompt. So I have a process by which I'll show you how it works here if I just switch really quick, where I've been kind of building an automated blog here. I'll go into drafts. Let's go to created by me. So I have this agent that I've built, and what it does is it will take in the thing, some metadata from that blog post, the title, the slug, the description, the keywords that are used in the blog post. And then I am using this new feature called this scripting block, which is the same as using regular blocks. It's just a vibe. It's basically allowing you to vibe code these blocks. This is brand new, and we need to do a workshop on this actually at one, because the way that it works is similar to that vibe coding interface. But notice how you have the blocks. Whoops, not this one. This one. Notice how you can see the code here on the right-hand side, but this code translates into those same blocks that I showed you on the workflow builder, right? And so I basically was just chatting with it and I say, hey, I need you to come up with a bunch of unique styles that I can use as blog thumbnail images. And then I need you to randomly select one. And then I need you to take my blog content and generate, extract like a key idea or a prop or something from it, and um, and then use that to generate your final image prompt, and then actually generate the image. So here we have this big generate text block, and this stuff here, this is all the prompt. This is you are a senior director at a design publication. Here's the aesthetic of the image. Here's mandatory visual tones. Like I basically build this like really big prompt to help me um, generate the final image prompt that's used in the image generation model. Does
I
that make
see. So you
sense?
have preset styles
Yes,
and then generate a prompt, enhanced prompt or very long, powerful prompt, and then use those two to generate the final image.
correct. Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Got it. So to generate the preset styles, can I do that now, or is something that is in development, or you
Oh
say
no,
that is
I
new?
I literally just went and started a Claude chat or a Chat GPT chat, and I
Okay.
just, I just said, here are some images I like. You could do it in MindStudio too, but since I'm
Yeah.
using it as part of a prompt, I said here are some images I like. Help me extract, I help me extract like visual elements from those images
Okay.
and generate help me come up with a prompt, right? Um,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you so much. Very
No
useful.
problem. Yeah. That's the thing is like when you think about these tools, it's not just like, you use Claude and Claude Code and a chat for like these one-off things, and then for like these pipelines, you can use MindStudio and a combination of MindStudio and Claude Code. There's just so many ways to achieve the same thing, and the best way, in my opinion, is just to, start by um, even just like chatting with an AI agent to get an idea of what's possible, right? You can install this skills plugin. It will actually tell you all the capabilities on MindStudio. You just copy this prompt here into your Claude Code or co-work session, and it will install the stuff, tell you what's possible, and then you can start brainstorming what an image pipeline might look like. Sam?
Perfect.
Hey,
Thank you.
actually, I was wondering about the skill or the
The skill
plugin.
the skills plugin?
The plugin is a more appropriate name for it. So I noticed that it has a single limitation right now, and I'm wondering if you guys are planning on including that later on. So I already installed this yesterday, and I was playing around with it. Um, so it can read what you have published as your agents. Um, I set it up with Claude Code, and I asked them to list the agents that I have set up.
Uh-huh.
So it can only read from your published, um, and it can't read the blocks inside an already made agent. Is that something you guys know about, or?
It you mean in an existing project? Like you have a code project that's at your blog and you want it to read blog posts?
No, no, no. So I set up the plugin and I asked Claude Code to reach out to my workspace
Uh-huh.
and to read the agents that I have listed there just to see if it can actually see that.
Oh, I see.
So
So,
it
yeah, we there's a distinction like this basically installs all of the block functionality inside of Claude Code for you. So it's not tied to your workspace other than you authenticate into it. There's actually this whole other product, which again, I'm going to be getting a page up for it soon called the MindStudio Tunnel. And that tunnel is actually what connects to agents in your workspace and is able to
right,
run the agents in your workspace.
right. Okay, I'm
The
just
short answer, Sam, sorry, so
uh-huh.
to butt in here quickly.
Dimitri.
Yeah, thanks,
Uh,
Dimitri.
no worries, yeah. So the short answer is that the capabilities of that SDK, all of the methods are constantly growing and extending.
Changing and updating. So
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
okay,
So
that's fine.
absolutely, at this moment, you can list your agents. You'll have
Yes,
capability to
I
go
managed to do
level
that.
deeper and understand the blocks. We started with abstracting all of the capabilities of the blocks. You can build new things, not necessarily yet go and use it to manage your existing things you've
Sure.
built.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I
Yeah. Okay.
understand where you're.
You're building the SDK around creating agents first, and then you can
Yeah, but
add
again,
other
it
stuff
will
later.
Yeah.
support
All
it will
right.
Everything.
support everything. Yeah,
All
for
right.
Yeah.
sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're
Thank you.
just getting started on that. That thing
Perfect.
is just
Perfect.
launched. I mean,
Okay.
it's already
I'm too
extraordinarily
excited. I
powerful.
already installed it
But
yesterday, and I'm playing around with it, and I want to use it, but it's important to try and reach the agents that I already have in my
makes
workspace. That
sense.
way, I can
Yeah.
modify them instead of
Mhm.
building a new one, and then yeah.
Understood. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
By
you.
the way, you should take a look at your microphone later. There's something that you sound horrible.
Yeah.
There's something going on with your mic.
All right, folks. Well, I just want to take a moment and thank you all so much for joining. I know your time is incredibly valuable, and I really appreciate the fact that you chose to spend that time with us. You're going to get, a notification asking how this session went. We'd love your honest feedback to figure out how we can improve this session. So if you have any feedback, feel free to drop that feedback for us. Also, if you're interested in learning more with myself and with Dimitri, we offer a bunch of other workshops. We offer boot camps. We will include some links in chat if you are interested in attending something new, learning new skills. We're very passionate about this, and we love to like take these new technologies and help explain it to folks so that all of this stuff can become incredibly easy to use and really democratize all this stuff and make it available um, for folks that aren't traditionally coders, but also have all those capabilities for developers as well, and be able to like just let everybody use everything. No gatekeeping here. Um, well, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a lot, and thank you so much again. We'll see you soon, hopefully. All right. Bye.